Hello everyone and welcome out to the stream. I'm Christopher Disciple Al, and this is going to be some high stakes Challenger 5 versus 5. These teams are competing for the final spots to get into the second series of the North American Challenger Series. And this is for the Challenger points so that they can make it into the playoffs and then eventually into the LCS relegation matches, since the top 6 teams with the most points get into the playoffs and the top 3 teams battle the bottom 3 teams from the LCS. And so both of these groups of people are vying for that top 20 challenger, and it looks like we have some pretty solid teams here. On the blue side, it will be Cognitive Gaming with Richie Rich up in the top lane, Admiral Ziplock in the jungle, nothing here on AD carry with Nidus remain as support, and Zamfira in the mid lane. Over on the red team, we do have Team 8, which has a new member on it down in the bottom lane, which is Maple Street, as the AD carry supported by Dodo 8. And then they have Salushi 8 in the mid lane, California Trolls on the top lane, and then jungling is Guess 8. All these players have had some pretty great success in solo queue. Cog we've seen in quite a few tournaments as well. And then from Maple Street, of course, was a member of Velocity Esports in the summer split of the last LCS. And I look forward to seeing a lot from these two teams. Right now, it just looks like we have a pretty standard lane setup and no early invades from either side. The most aggressive move is really just California Trolls up here in the top lane waiting in the river. Interesting seeing Richie Rich down here with Admiral Ziplock at the blue buff first, since typically we see junglers starting on the bottom half of the map. However, with Wukong, when you really don't want to gank before level 6, you're fine starting here, since you're going to spend most of your time in the jungle anyway, and it doesn't necessarily matter that you can get up to the top lane at level 3 to gank. Ooh, in the bottom lane, there's a bit of an altercation there. Actually, Dodo throwing down the Ignite onto nothing here just for the early damage, and they actually get a good amount of harass over Dodo with a very long attack range on that Annie. Oh, and the Piercing Light as well. Nothing here has to be very careful. The Incinerate comes out and continues to chip down his health bar. The top lane matchup is definitely going to be a lot more boring. It's going to be Shen just trying to stay alive here in this lane as he looks to farm up and get into the game while Renekton just really wants to try and shove him out of lane as best he can. Salushi taking quite a bit of damage in the mid. Zamfira going aggressive with that early range. Going to do well, but has to really get the upper hand early, or else Gragas will just be able to too easily clear out the wave and then be able to run away and leave LeBlanc with a little bit too much for her meager kit to clear out. Right now the gold is still staying pretty even since we haven't seen many kills, although there has been a bit of gold over here on our on the Cognitive side, especially since Richie Rich has been pushing up rather aggressively, which we expect to see up against the Shen this early on. He has a very weak laning phase, good sustain, but really not a lot of pressure on the enemy laner, and someone like Renekton can trade really effectively back onto him. Zamfira just continuing to play forward with the spells, has denied about a wave of CS to Salushi, and is just trying his best to be able to get up to those early items and try and get to them before Salushi. That's his key here. An early Deathfire Grasp might be pretty typical, but we'll see exactly where Zamfira chooses to go. It's unfortunate not seeing Zamfira on that mid Lulu, but at this point, when she's so meta of a pick, it's, I guess, not all too unique anymore, and we can see Zamfira bringing out some more stuff. LeBlanc, of course, not being a unique pick at all. Might have been in Season 3, but now LeBlanc really becoming a staple in that mid lane has been a very powerful pickup to replace some of the assassins that have been nerfed quite a bit. Zed had a huge reign in mid, but they did take away quite a bit of his mobility with the shadows. They did add some back in with his ult, but he still hasn't seen a lot of professional play since Season 3. Salushi going to make the first move here after shoving out the mid. And he's only level 4, but they're actually going to go out on here. They have the gank in from Guess 8 as well, and it looks like nothing here might go down here for the first blood. There's the body slam. Actually, Dodo picking up that final hit. Nidus Remain will be alive on the end of that, but a lot spent and a lot gained. They do get the gold lead back in their advantage, just ever so slightly, but they will keep nothing here from farming for just a little bit. They do pop the flash as well. Salushi running into Zamfira in the river here, and Zamfira will just wait there. Now finally throw out that silence. Actually catch him out there in the snare, but he will retreat back. Oh, takes so much damage. The Ignite doesn't come down from Zamfira, but he has put Slushy in such a rough spot. He has to be careful. He does have the Happy Hour passive, which restores 2% of his health on every spell cast, which will help him stay in this lane, actually. And it looks like that sustain might be enough for him now, comboed with that health potion. Guess now coming to the lane is going to help him shove it out, which probably means Slushy's going to go back to buy at this point. Not a lot of gold on any of these champions so far, but could be a good spot so that they can try and grab maybe an extra Dorns, a couple extra basic items before they hit level 6, and can potentially go in for even more ganks. Richard is taking some damage, returns it right back there on the California Trolls. Actually falls a little bit lower than he would like. The sustain coming up from that Vorpal Blade really helping Shen stay up here in the lane and farm up. He has given up about 2 waves of CS to Renekton, but still, when he hits level 6, it's going to be so much easier for him to join a fight, especially since Richie Rich only has a flash and an ignite. There's no teleport on there, so we'll have a much more mobile Team 8, which could leave Cognitive susceptible to split pushing. We'll have to see exactly what their plan is with a Lucian as well. They could definitely look for some solid team fights. Lucian Annie with a Shen ult on top of that will really help to keep Maple Street alive. And with Pantheon's Grand Skyfall, they can turn a 2 versus 2 into a 4 versus 2 really anytime. We saw it earlier just with the Gragas roam, but now they have these global ultimates. It could happen just so much easier. And that's what they're going to look for. That's what they have to look for since they've been pushed up so far. The CS is in the advantage of Cognitive in every single lane. Even the support and the jungler have more, which is something that we don't frequently see. Maple Street just doing his best farm up here does have a bit of a rough time up against Caitlyn early on. But it's something that he can definitely make up once they get to team fights in the mid game, where he'll be naturally stronger with his abilities. Zamfira just continuing to farm up, actually has taken a nice advantage here over Gragas. Picked up the Sorcerer's Shoes as the first buy, and will take away this blue buff. Blue buff is so necessary on LeBlanc. It gives him the magic, or the mana regeneration to consistently rain down spells, as well as the cooldown reduction to get out of those combos just more and more often. It allows you to use your ultimate to clear out waves, and use it for harass on top of just assassinations. Dodo's going to look to play a little bit aggressively now that he's about to get his Tibbers. And once he picks that up and using that stun, they should be able to win a 2 versus 2 fight. They, of course, have to be careful about Wukong coming down here since he is level 6. He has a Cyclone, and Admiral Ziploc is certainly going to be itchy to use that in a fight. However, I think Dodo wants to make something happen after getting pushed back to the turret so much. Even from the single kill on the nothing there. This is my happy song playing right now, but I'll try and refrain from dancing, since that might be a bad habit to get into while casting. But it looks like Cognitive is playing fairly well, despite the 1 death. They do have a basically even gold across the board here. Even just a few hundred gold wouldn't mean too much, but what it means is that they're playing the lanes well, and that teammate is just making the moves they kind of desperately need to stay in. It's not that they can face up against these champions individually in the lane, but that they can utilize their teamwork and communication a little bit better to overcome that gap. I'd like to see it happening more. Pantheon really is a strong early game ganker, much more so than Wukong, but he's really only been able to gank once this game. It did result in the kill, but he should really look to find more than that, since Wukong has almost no pre-6 gank potential, whereas Pantheon has quite a lot. Immense damage coming out from the Spear Shot and Heartseeker Strike, as well as the instant stun, or almost instant stun from the Aegis of Zeonia. Won't call it instant, but it's pretty easy to lock onto a target and press W. Richard is continuing to shove at this top lane, has actually lost a bit of his CS. Oh, whoa, that was the initiate we were talking about just as I decided to talk about another lane. Let's rewind just a little bit so we can see what happened there. Oh, Dodo is waiting for it. The Grand Skyfall is going to come in, and there's Dodo flashing in, and nothing there. Had no choice. Pantheon not even able to assist with that. The flash ult with the Tibbers just decimating the health bar of nothing here. the second kill of the game, both onto that AD carry. He's still keeping up pretty good farm, though. He has a few more than Maple Street, which is impressive for how long he spent dead. They'll now use Tibbers to tank up this dragon as they do take it down. It looks like teammate will be able to grab this out. However, Zamfir doesn't want to let it go for free. Guess8 does have his smite. Zamfir is going to try and throw over his spells, but that smite's going to be a little bit too good out of Guess. And so that will be the gold advantage here, coming over a little conclusively for teammate, at least more than we've seen so far. With about 8,000 in their advantage. Ooh, Richie Rich getting taunted up under the turret actually doesn't take a turret shot. And so California Trolls will not be able to find too much damage on here, but he's doing a pretty good job holding his own. He's picked up a Giant's Belt first, which does scale with his Key Strike passive, letting him do a little bit more damage when he builds that health, as well as just enabling him to take up more health with that taunt and in team fights. Renekton with the early pickaxe pickup tells us that he wants to go for the Ravenous Hydra build, and we'll see how much damage he can do. That's pretty aggressive, and he's actually going to force California Trolls back a little bit. California Trolls knows that Richie Rich has that Dominus. Ooh, and Zamfira roaming up from the top might be able to find something here. Let's see, he misses the snare, and they'll have to back off of this one. A little sloppy of a gank, but they can get some turret pressure off of this one, which might be all that they needed. Richie Rich getting a lot of attacks up here on this outer turret, as they do see Zamfira just moving down towards the mid. Oh, Maple Street falling low, and the bottom lane is going to get taken out here by the ace. No! Dodo tanked up the ace in the hole from all the way back along nothing here. He's actually going to turn around for some good damage. Dodges out and turns around with the summon Tibbers. Oh my goodness, is he going to 1 versus 2 it? No! The ultimate comes in from Shen. The ace in the hole is enough, and Dodo is still alive. Admiral Zyklop wants the kill. He comes in with a Nimbus Strike, flashes in for the Cyclone, and that's a double kill for the Monkey King. And that was almost an amazing play from Dodo. California Trolls up in the top lane did get dived on when he tried the ult bot, and that gave Richie Rich his opportunity to dive him. Yes, that's what happened. You can trust me, I'm a doctor. I would make a really reliable witness in court. Oh, Zamfira trying to get some harass on the Guess8, but he won't have the distortion up. He has to be careful about Slushy roaming up here from the river. The top turret does go down. Slushy runs in here, throws the barrel, but Zamfira looks to walk out of this one. Explosive cask going to be a mile away as Zamfira just happily retreats. Renekton backing off in this bush as well. Might be playing with fire. He doesn't have his Sunfire cape yet, so he has to be afraid of that one. But no, it looks like he'll be fine. Oh, the pings come down. The pings come down. Slushy, can you find this man? You don't have the explosive cask. He lands the barrel wall, but not the body slam since the slow didn't come across. And so that will be a series of plays to bring Cognitive back in the game. They took a turret. They grabbed a couple of kills from the Wukong. Nothing here. In a rough spot. Looks to get away from that one. And Maple Street won't be able to get up close enough for the auto. Playing a really aggressive Annie has paid off pretty well. But one of the things you have to note is that all the 3 kills that teammate has picked up are on this support. Oh, the man drop coming in the bottom lane. They are burning so much for this Caitlyn, but it'll be an easy pick up there. Maple Street finally picking up his kill, the first non-Annie one on the team. California Trolls flashes away from the snare up top, and so he will be safe. As his team does take out the bottom outer turret, that'll be the gold back in their favor. And so some really strong plays from teammate to keep them back in the game. It feels like their plays have a little bit of desperation behind them, but they're paying off well. They're taking risks early on, which is doing a good amount of work for them. It's keeping them in the gold advantage, which they really need to get Lucian going into this mid game. Since later game, he just can't do as much in team fights against the absolute range from Caitlyn, as well as the kind of guaranteed nature of the headshots, since you just get pretty much a base damage addition with the headshots, whereas with Lucian and his gunslinger, you have to use abilities and you have to stay in that really short attack range, and it's going to be a lot harder to utilize it. California Troll is going to keep his red buff safe here from the onslaught of Richie Rich, who is just playing rather aggressively. Has picked up the Tiamat and a Giant Spell on top of that one. Could go for either the Randuins and the Sunfire, but if I know my my Lizard Band, it's going to be the Bernie Cloak. Can I use names like that? As long as I can use Frosted Fisticuffs, I'm pretty okay with that. But we honestly haven't seen that too much. Zamfira jumping over the wall, tries to steal away the Big Wraith, but can't quite latch onto it. Nidus Remain and Admiral Ziploc now garrisoning the mid lane. Really wants to try and siege down this middle turret, but I don't know that they can do it now that Dodo has joined the ranks. And that wave clear from Slushy, keeping his turret rather safe. He has to be careful about body slamming in too far. But right now it looks like he'll be okay. Cognitive really want to make a play right now, but they're not quite finding it. Their initiation tends to be a little bit shaky. Admiral Ziploc is going to be their strongest participant in a team fight. However, to get in with the Cyclone, he has to get in range with the Nimbus Strike. Of course, he can stealth in. He can potentially flash for that, but it's a risky play to get in there. He does have a passive to keep him somewhat alive, somewhat survivable, but they really want to land a Death Sentence from Thresh. Maple Street falls low here, but will be able to run right off the back. Ace in the hole, not able to do enough damage there, and an escaped AD carry will keep his life for now. He's farming up fairly well, 108 CS. However, the 122 on nothing here will bring up to a pretty strong mid game. Now, he hasn't gone back to buy for quite some time. If we take a look at these gold totals, he has 2,400 under his pocket. He'll be able to run right back and buy a Bloodthirster if he chooses, but he can't fight until he gets that, or else that'll be so much damage he's missing that that Maple Street will be happy to bring out with that Trinity Force, picked up at a pretty reasonable time. For the most farm in this game, though, we have to commend Slushy in that mid lane. 154, been farming up a Storm. He's going for the Athene's Unholy Grail for his first buy. Likely going to get a Death Cap and a Void Staff after. That just seems to be the typical Gragas build, and it's worked so well. Oh, the Flash Descendants catches onto Slushy, but there is the ultimate from Shen, and Slushy will stay alive. Now, it looks like Nidus Remain caught out in a pretty rough position as the rest of the team engages in a fight. Admiral Ziploc gets taken out in his Cyclone there. Not able to disrupt too much. Nidus Remain finally goes down up in the mid lane. Now, it looks like this Dragon attempt should be successful out of Team 8. Nothing there, and Zamfira are standing over the wall. However, the Dragon was dragged out, and I'm not sure they'll be able to find this. Zamfira jumps over the wall, but that will be another successful smite from Guess. He's been able to keep that Dragon on his side, and that will be a pretty solid gold advantage here. Over 3,000 to Team 8. Sometimes I finish thoughts in my mind, but that's why they're thoughts and not, sentences. California Trolls really able to turn it around for his team. He hasn't really been too much of an effect in team fights so far. I mean, 0-1-1. His lane went by pretty passively, but that ult in just completely assured the Dragon, and it potentially saved Slushy's life. When Cognitive saw that shield and realized how difficult it was going to be to lock down Slushy, they didn't quite have the proper call after that. So it left Nidus Remain on the wrong side of that fight after a really well-placed explosive cast. And the rest of the team just kind of fell apart. Admiral Ziploc had to do a panic Cyclone. And you never want to prematurely Cyclone. Not only will the ladies be unimpressed, but you can likely die before your team can properly follow up on your CC. Now they will look to be making the plays here after getting caught with their pants slightly ajar. And this actually looks like it might be a solid play onto California Trolls. As my camera goes ski-wampus, he tries to taunt away, he flashes, and that's actually going to be an escape from 3 members roaming up here. Cognitive not finding anything. Even the Dominus pop by Richie Rich will mean that they really can't fight for about the next 75 seconds. Blowing the flash is nice, and it will keep any flash taunts from coming out of Shen. However, they want kills at this point. They want to keep that ult down so then they can push out other lanes and potentially dive onto champions. They have the Wukong, they have a Renekton, even the LeBlanc, they want to dive onto champions, but it's so difficult against the Shen, since they can instantly be going up not only in a 1 versus 2, but a 1 versus 2 with a solid shield on there. If we look at the current amount at rank 2, it's 571, which is going to be hard for anyone to burn through without a very coordinated effort from the members of Cognitive. Dodo continuing to hold up the mid lane has really taken a post here. He's picked up the Talisman of Ascension, which is a strong item for any support since it really helps your team mobility, be able to get into fights, get out of fights, even just, get to Baron or Dragon a little bit faster. We've seen it used in a variety of means since there's no cost to using it except burning the cooldown. It'll be back up in about a minute. The Deathfire Grasp picked up by Zamfira will really help out his burst if he can get onto someone that isn't guarded by the Stand United. If they do, then even LeBlanc won't have the burst to 100 to 0 anyone yet, and they'll really need that ace in the hole from nothing here, or potentially, a tank like Richie Rich or Admiral Ziploc to back them up. Admiral Ziploc actually not going for a very tanky build yet, instead opting for the more aggressive jungler build, which is gained a lot of popularity recently due to the effectiveness of the Spirit of the Elder Lizard, as well as the sustain that comes from that item. It lets you jungle and farm really fastly, really effectively, and then keeps you up on health and mana so you can come out and gank pretty frequently. So that's that Spirit of the Elder Lizard on both of these junglers, the Brutalizer as well. Almost identical builds here. They're both going to go for the Black Cleaver eventually, but that Giant Spell is going to help them stay in fights a little bit longer, which is really necessary on each of these champions. Now, some advice from Voyboy was that, when you're playing a champion, determining which stat to get first can also be variable. But say with Wukong, you want to get health first, since his passive gives him a really strong amount of armor and magic resist. So building more armor and magic resist will actually not matter too much when you're trying to kill Maple Street under his turret, and the Stand United won't quite come through. The shield really helped him out, but that consistent damage from nothing there, and Admiral Ziploc able to bring him down and take out a turret. Oh, they might not actually be able to get it. Dodo flashes in for the stun on the nothing there, and that is Guess 8 in with the Grand Skyfall. Nothing there tries to take the Lantern out, but Dodo is a little bit too difficult to peel off of there. The Disintegrate following him all the way down. Now California Trolls, after burning the Stand United, is going to be trading back onto Richie Rich, and he has the health and the armor to actually hold his own. Richie Rich taking quite a bit of damage, but of course he has a Dominus, which anyone fighting Renekton always has to be very, very careful about. Cognitive made a great play in the bottom lane, but they overstayed their welcome and they didn't respect the mobility that Guess 8 gets out of that Grand Skyfall. And so they did end up losing a kill for a kill and grabbing the turret a little bit later than they would like. They did finally take that out. Now they're actually now going to make another movement for California Trolls in the top lane, who has quite a bit of health. His flash is still down for about another 30 seconds. They're going to do their best. Let's see if we can get the snare. Oh, Descendants comes across from Nidus Remain, and it looks like he'll finally go down there. The Deathfire Grasp burned as well to make sure they netted that kill. And a solid roam will be great if they can turn it into an objective. They're going to look to potentially make their move on the mid lane, but without Richie Rich with them, they can't go in too aggressively, so instead they're going to back off. They're going to give California Trolls some time to respawn, and they're not going to do too much to actually change this gold lead. It's nice to keep him shut down, especially when you can kill... Oh, Explosive Cast comes across trying to find the cheeky kill on the Zamfira, but it looks like our LeBlanc was not one to be deceived. Teammate does pick up the third dragon of the game, completely uncontested this time. No Zamfira trying to leap over the wall. Actually, I guess he'll do it again just to make sure. Just to check. He has to cover all of his bases, as they do not yet belong to us. Nothing there. Now trying to get this final turret kill, but Slushy and Guess don't want to give it up that easily. The static shift proc coming across from nothing there, really helping to clear out those waves, and they finally will take down that turret with the help of their teammates. And with only a 3,000 gold lead here at 23 minutes into the game, 24, it won't be too much of an advantage either way. It certainly was about 8 or 10 minutes ago. But now that it's later on and 3,000 gold, it does mean a big item, close to about a Bloodthirst or a Guardian Angel. But when that's spread across a team, then it really depends on your team fight positioning, on your mobility, and your overall rotations through here. And it looks like both of our teams have had trouble making really strong rotations. They're able to find a kill or two, but they really can't take much more than a turret here, a dragon there. Teammate has been controlling the dragon incredibly effectively, But the turrets have actually not been in their favor all too recently. California Trolls now going to look to even up this turret war with their third. Richie Rich waiting in the wings, not wanting to go in alone, waiting for backup, which will come a little bit too late. And so he'll just have to go right back to farming. The farm counts are actually getting rather high. If you take a look at Slushy, 268 in 25 minutes. That man is on fire. He is looking to be the next Xiao Wei Xiao. Coming up to 300 here soon, if Dodo doesn't steal away too many, but consistently taking away these rays. He's really looking for the stream record, which I believe he will accomplish. Let's get a number for 30, and then we can compare it in the future, see if anyone can beat it out. Oh, Zamfira once again falling low, but he's supposed to cast not connecting. Slushy throws those so nonchalantly, and they do have a low cooldown. He does have a blue buff on him as well. But here with the Talisman of Ascension coming out from Dodo, they try and find their engagement, but they don't quite connect. Zamfira is low, but he is able to keep the enemies at bay with that snare, and it looks like Team 8 will just look to make a very standard assault here. Maple Street just trying to clear out the waves while everyone else, Slushy and Guess primarily, just throw their harass over from the sides. They want Nidus Remain to fall or at least get low. There's actually the taunt landing on the Admiral Ziploc. They can't allow him to get a very big Cyclone here. Oh, he actually stealths out and takes the Thresh Express. The stun from Guess landed onto that clone. And so they will get juked out a little bit here, but Team 8 will continue on their siege. Cognitive have been able to keep this turret fairly alive. And I feel like we're going to see an outbreak of fighting before we necessarily see this turret worn down by attrition. Cognitive has backed off rather far, but still with the wave clear coming out from nothing there and the constant threat from Zamfira, it will be enough to force Team 8 back. Oh, I thought that might have been the explosive cast. It was just the barrel roll from that Gragas. California Trolls doing his best to split push in the bottom lane, forcing up a lot of minions and actually doing quite a bit of damage onto that turret. Still has his Stand United to join the fight at any time, which is more than can be said for Richie Rich, who has to make sure he stays close enough to his team to be able to run there in about 10 seconds. If he waits any longer than that, then the fight could be over, and with the excellent AoE coming out from the Sub and Tibbers, the Grand Skyfall, and the Explosive Cask, it could be absolutely devastating to the health bars and the morale of Cognitive. Right now, no fighting's happened for quite a bit. 12 kills in 27 minutes. This is definitely a much higher level of coordinated play than we typically see in the solo queue that we cast so frequently. Oh, Talisman of Ascension. Nice Remain actually flashing in, is able to grab the Flay. Dodo 8 with the shield on him, going to turn around onto Nidus Remain, throw it on the Tibbers. A lot burned for a single champion, but with the assault coming back out from teammate Grand Skyfall to cut off Zamfira from the back. Richie Rich falling low in this fight will be the first casualty. Solushi grabbing that out. That's 5 members still alive here for Team 8, and a 4th kill. Guess taking that one, and they might look for the entire ace. Nothing here. Still alive. Explosive Cast going to pick up the last hit there. Slushy finally landing one over the shoulder, and that'll be every member alive here for Team 8. A well-played team fight, turning this into a very strong objective. The Baron attempt, and I don't see anyone contesting this one. Nidus Remain is finally alive, but that should fall before he can get anywhere in the vicinity. And if anyone's going to steal away a buff with a Thresh, it's probably going to be Afromu. I do trust you, Nidus Remain, but I'm not sure you're quite ready for those kind of flashy plays. Or flashy flays, should I say. Sorry about that, guys. I feel like I deserve at least one a cast. Maybe not that frequently, but we'll play around with the number. So, with the Baron going over here to Team 8, that's almost 10,000 gold, which is actually rather significant. If you take a look at those builds, that's a couple of Randuin's Omens completed on the top laner and the jungler. A needlessly large rod onto Dodo so he can begin carrying. But with a 6-1-3 score, I think he's already done it. 6-1-3. He has he has double what anyone else has. The next highest is going to be Maple Street with 3. He has half of his team's kills. So, Dodo, you could say he's a great support. You could say he's great at finishing off last hits. But the really only uncontestable fact is that Team 8 has a big advantage here, and they're looking to push it through. They have Baron for about another 3 minutes, and they want to look to use it. They can't let it go to waste. The stats are just too good, especially for champions like Gragas, who scale very well on attack damage and ability power. Lucian even being able to use that ability power in his Culling ultimate and the Ardent Blaze in case that happens to make much of an effect in teamfights. Probably not, but you really can't underestimate the damage coming out from the Culling. If you take a look, he does 7 additional damage per shot, and he does 18 shots total. So the Baron buff really going to give him a nice boost when he does use that off the side of team fights. The Culling, although it doesn't necessarily do the greatest single target damage in the game, it's able to be used so safely that you can sacrifice damage for just absolute usability. I would say the usability can be hurt as well by the static nature of it, but I think you guys know what I mean. It's really long. It's really long. Now, if we're going to see any play coming out here, I feel like it'll be Dodo with the Talisman of Ascension, potentially a Flash Tibbers. His Flash isn't up yet. They might want to wait on it. He has almost 2 minutes left. Slushy actually flayed backwards. Has to be careful about this. He gets some health back from his passive and some more from the Baron, but that health bar isn't going to be too favorable. Richie Rich, though, having to be careful as well. Oh, nothing here, taking massive damage from the Culling. We did talk about how, oh, explosive cast catching on the Nidus Remain, not going to finish him off. And that is Slushy just using that rather nonchalantly. It does have a short cooldown. He does have a blue buff once again. And, you know, I really can't criticize him for it since it's worked out so far. He's 2-0-5. Not, oh, Nidus Remain goes in for the death sentence, but it appears to be his own fate. Dodo just keeping his team safe from the side. They don't want to let Admiral Ziploc get in there for a solid Cyclone. California Trolls split pushing in the top, does manage to take out an inner turret, and it really looks like Team 8 is just taking control of this game. And when you look at that composition, you can really understand how picking an Annie support and a Shen top would give you enormous control, since you choose when to engage, you choose where to split push and apply pressure, and they're doing it with textbook accuracy. With this inhibitor falling and the top inhibitor turret really under siege, Cognitive just isn't sure where to direct their efforts. They have a strong team. They have a Rabadon's death cap on the LeBlanc, but it looks like it might not be enough as he gets destroyed immediately. Now, Guess with the Stand United on top of him will be able to survive in here for the time being. Richie Rich jumps in the middle of the between. He might be able to find Guess. He finally does, but not before losing the majority of his team. Only nothing here alive with 3 members of Team 8 up. They actually won't be going for this Nexus quite yet. They might look to move down there since the respawn timers are fairly large, but they did lose Guess and Maple Street, which are going to be their primary turret takers, since they do have the majority of the attack damage. Oh, a flash stun on nothing here, and the flash taunt from California Trolls will result in the kill, and this actually could be the game. Zamfira is up, though he has not purchased those home guards, but he's going to be enough to chase teammate out of here. No Nexus turrets picked up, but quite a few kills and 2 inhibitors. A lot of gold here on Team 8. We will see some really nice buys. Maple Street picking up a Banshee's Veil on top of his last Whisper Bloodthirster Trinity Force combo. He's going to be dealing tons of damage with that, as well as tanking up quite a bit as well. Solushi with his Rabadon's Death Cap, Void Staff, Athens that we talked about, going to actually buff it up quite a bit with his Zanya's Hourglass as well, not only giving him a solid amount of ability power, but also giving him the invulnerability stasis. When we take a look at his ability power, 650. It's not over 9,000, but it's getting pretty close, it feels, as he's really going to find some nice snipes with that explosive cask. He's been throwing them out with a kind of careless fashion, but I expect to see some nice pickups soon. He did take out Zamfira before he could use really any of his abilities in the last fight, and now with these latest buys, I don't expect it to change up too much. California Trolls just going for a full tank build, not looking to be much of a damage threat, but not needing to be, since he has behind him an incredibly fed Maple Street. He has the AD from his jungle on Guess. Not only that, but he has a Zanya's Hourglass on his support. He'll just be able to taunt right over the wall, take it out in one attack the turret, not long for this world, and really doesn't have to be too careful about standing up here. He has massive armor on him. Admiral Ziploc and California Trolls looking to back off. Actually, the taunt landing, and that's the Talisman of Ascension. Admiral Ziploc flashes into the team, and he looks to spin right past here. Oh, that's why. That I understand perfectly now why they did that. Well played, guys. I was trying to analyze like the reasoning behind the last-minute surrender pops. So, well, good game to teammate. A very solid takedown of Cognitive Gaming and a strong team composition. I really liked how they played it. 6-1-8 on Annie, 5-3-7 on Maple Street. He almost caught up there to Dodo, but not quite. Better luck next time, and I hope to see you all soon. Thank you all for watching. I stream every day. Make sure you check it out and give me some feedback.